Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Ayn Rand Center UK, The Collective. I am here with my awesome co-hosts. Please don't kill me if I butcher your names. All right, I'm going to start with the hardest one first. Nikos Sotirakopoulos, did I get that?
95% correct.
Okay, awesome. Jonathan Honig and Amanda Maxim, hello, welcome.
Yo.
And we are, I think today we're starting off with some breaking news. TV show host and personality Jerry Springer has died at the age of 79. He is, for us Americans, he is sort of a cross between a train wreck and the person that you like, I guess somebody that you just like to eat ice cream to and watch as the train wrecks. He started out as he actually was a one-time mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio. He was a actual bona fide journalist, I think kind of in the same vein as Geraldo Rivera, if those people remember Geraldo Rivera when he had his own talk show. And then Jerry Springer quickly thwarted himself into popularity, American popularity, by his show, The Jerry Springer Show, where he would bring people on, sort of regular everyday people. The way that I heard it described was his goal was to bring on, was to really discover the underbelly of America, and expose it and discuss it. And in fact, what he ended up doing was rolling around in the underbelly of America, getting himself pretty dirty himself. So he would bring people on who would caught their exes or caught their husbands, girlfriends, boyfriends cheating. That he's not the baby daddy, or and this was actually the first time when the actual audience of the show would yell at the people that were on the panel, and the people at the panel would yell back at the audience, and verbal assaults would fly, sometimes physical assaults would fly, and it was wildly entertaining. The show was on, I think, for decades. And at the end of every show, though, Jerry Springer somehow had this ability to bring it back and talk about something meaningful, like, everybody treat everybody well today. So interesting. That's about the extent of my Jerry Springer knowledge. What say you all?
Jax, I'll just jump in quickly. I mean, there was a time, our European audiences might not be aware of this, that Jerry Springer really in America was the most popular television show. Everyone was talking about, did you see this on Jerry? Did you see that on Jerry? And as you said, he really pioneered. He took the American talk show kind of from the Oprah, Phil Donahue days, which were maybe a little salacious, but think of Miss Rand's interview with Phil Donahue. I mean, it was very meaningful, some heady-hitting topics, and turned it into exactly what you said, in my opinion, was an absolute train wreck. I was not a fan of Jerry Springer at the time. I thought it celebrated, it showcased exactly as you said, the worst elements of America, almost the anti-heroic. And, Miss Rand talked about her love of Charlie's Angels. You know, you saw beautiful women, beautiful people doing heroic, amazing things. This was just the opposite. It was ugly people celebrating showcasing their ugly lives. And, I can't say that I'm glad Jerry's dead, but I thought it was just a horrible part of American culture for far too long.
So is the equivalent, I guess, of the Jeremy Kyle show in the UK. So I was trying to remember the name and I was doing a bit of Googling. So which was a bit of the same. So you would have cases where people would show up and disputing who's the child is, and then the presenter would say, here we have the paternity test, or here we did a truth test, and turns out the child is not yours. So the point is that these were always quite popular. So I don't want to go to an elitist rant about what this means, but yeah. I've never watched the show of the guy who died, but I've watched the UK equivalent, and it was a bit again like what the shows you'd imagine that Gail Wyman would have if he was on television. So if his newspaper, which actually try to appeal to the lowest common instincts would be a TV show. That would be the Jeremy Kyle show or the equivalent of the shows.
What say you, Amanda?
I'm trying not to weigh in. I'm just waiting for the secret paternity test reveal because that's coming next, right?
Right, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, Nikos, to your point, everyone was just kind of waiting around for the fists to start flying, for like the big heavy guy to topple over the guy. You were just kind of waiting for that train wreck. And ultimately, what did you get out of this type of programming? Are you elevated? Are you inspired? It's just, again, it was so popular for so long. It seems as if its popularity has ebbed, thankfully. But Amanda, to your point, it was kind of waiting around for this, not even salacious reveal, for this kind of sad, awful, ugly reveal of some dysfunctional family and terrible circumstances, usually with some children involved. And I don't know, you think about art as, hopefully lifting one up, presenting the positive on some level. And this just was always the opposite for me, and a format that I'm glad has died on the vine.
To end on a positive note, do we agree that today this show would not be that popular?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, because there are I believe that there are a lot of shows like this that are still going on. This is primarily a daytime show. So most professionals aren't watching it. Most of the people that at the time that I was growing up, most of the people that were watching it were stay-at-home moms. Sometimes, their kids would see it when they would get home from school and whatnot. But the demographic catered a lot, I think, to the female population, which I don't know what this, what that says at that time. I guess that there were a lot more stay-at-home moms. I think that this kind of show is still popular today. There is something twisted, I think, about watching a show like that, but then also something
a car wreck. I mean, they call it a gate.
Yeah.
Like when you're driving an expressway and you see a massive wreck, you stop down. Oh, maybe.
But we do though. I still do that. Right? I'm like, don't rubberneck. Oh, but what is it? So there is sort of sometimes this urge to watch it. If Paul Gay were here, I'm going to make this crack anyhow, and he can come back and defend it. It's almost like scripted wrestling. Like people go to these wrestling events and they want to see the drama. They want to see people beating up on each other. But I think there's something more pure about going to a wrestling show, because it is scripted and you know that it's all melodrama. And watching a show like Jerry Springer, these are real people with real lives, but they do sort of pander to it, right? These people know exactly what they're signing up for when they come on the show. So it's all sort of, it's like, and I wonder if shows like Jerry Springer sort of begat like the reality shows because of that real life drama and conflict.
Ashley Shrug, thank you for your contribution. She says that this kind of entertainment has just moved online. And Michael Sweet, also very generous contribution, says, Jerry, the pre-dawn of enjoying shows and movies promoting the villain or negative. And that was really a lot of that as well.
That's right. People would chant, when he would, before Jerry Springer would come online or come on the show, or if they wanted him to, I think, to do something specific with the audience. But yeah, very cultish.
A poor man's Morton Downey Jr. I will leave that one out there.
And I also see that the equivalent of that show in the UK has also stopped airing. So yeah, I think we're past that era. I'm not saying our era is definitely better, but I think the standards are slightly higher. So even if you want to see drama, it has to be some form of higher production value drama. Anyway,
I think it's interesting because you got to figure out what's real and not real. Because that was a question at first, right? Is this stuff real? Are those people real? Are they acting? Are they not acting? Are they sort of acting? I just saw a really interesting murder. It's not a mystery, but like a murder case about, but they weren't on the Jerry Springer show. They're on the Jenny Jones show. And there was this reveal of the one man had a crush on the other, and it was the secret thing. And the one was really embarrassed and ended up murdering the other guy just a few days later as a result. And I thought that it was an interesting show and an interesting perspective about like what that meant for real people, like you said, that are on this show. You're being entertained by it, but there's this element of them being fooled. And then is that the right thing to do? How culpable was the show in the causation of this murder? So anyway, I think there's interesting things to be learned from, just from watching and then watching yourself. Like, oh, I am entertained by this. And then you have these questions about yourself. Should I be entertained by this? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know the answers, but I think there's more interesting things than maybe you're giving credit for.
Jason, also a great contribution. He says that it would not be popular today because it is no longer simply on broadcast TV, and it has moved to Karens and YouTube, TikTok as an everyday way of life, right? We see a lot of this type of conflict just scrolling one after the other that we used to only see on Springer, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. Although I think TikTok has more of a TikTok kind of requires more of an entertainment value. I mean, Jerry Springer definitely had an entertainment value, but I mean, and you do see things on TikTok like real fights but it's still not that kind of scripted seedy drama. I'd like to be hopeful. I'd like to be on board with Nico's here that we've moved on from this. But with that, I say R.I.P. Rest in peace, Jerry Springer, and hope you find some drama in heaven, in Jerry Springer heaven. I don't know. I think we've got some Nikos. I think you've got one of our first topics here to kick us off as well.
Yeah. So here's some context about my topic. So my topic has to do with sports, but at the same time has not really got to do with sports. So the context is this. Last night, the Milwaukee Bucks got eliminated from the NBA playoffs. Now, I have a soft spot for Milwaukee Bucks because their star is a Greek guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So the Bucks were the first team in the regular season, which means they were the big favorites, and they got eliminated in the first round of playoffs by the 8th team in the East. So no one expected them to get eliminated. They were the champions 2 years ago. Last year, they got eliminated in the second round, which was a failure, I think. And this year, they get eliminated from the first round by losing 4 games to Miami. And after the game, someone asks Giannis, the big star of the Bucks and potentially the MVP of the season, Giannis, was this a failure? Was the fact that you got eliminated in the first round a failure? And Giannis gave an answer that became viral. He gets applause everywhere. It became viral in Greece, and I see it has millions of views on social media, supposedly as a sign of courage and as a sign of a morally higher answer. Dear producer, have we got the short clip? It's a very short clip. It's like 1 minute. Let's watch it. It's very interesting.
But I'm curious for you. Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. Okay, because I'm not that up. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide the house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success, And if you've never, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it, Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure. That's what you're telling me. No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports. There's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful. Some days you're not. Some days it's your turn. Some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. Some other people's going to win. And this year, somebody else is going to win. Simple as that. We're going to come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with playing bad basketball. And hopefully we can win.
That's it. We get the point. So Giannis' answer was, no, there is no failure. There is no failure in sports, and this season was not a failure. And I want to say, although I respect Giannis so much, he was playing injured. I was staying up all night quite often to watch him. My heart goes to him. I think this is an answer that the greats of the past, like Michael Jordan, would never give. The fact that we got eliminated in the first round of the playoff, however we want to call it, it's objectively a failure. It's objectively something that, I mean, this is primacy of consciousness. Saying that this was not a failure is, we're not going to name it a failure, therefore it's not a failure. But the truth is this: if you're the first team and you got eliminated by the 8th team in 5 games, that's a failure. And again, I'm interested here on the cultural aspect, that everyone applauds this answer, like, oh yeah, it's so nice. Whereas I find something weird in it. Like, Giannis, I love you so much. You want to be in the 10 best players that have ever played the game. But is this the mentality, which is the mentality of someone who's going to be really, really on the top 5, or even at some point want to be even higher than that? So I don't know, is it only me who finds this weird? Like, imagine Michael Jordan saying, oh yeah, we eliminated in the first round, but it's not really a failure. There is no failure in sports. And, you know, so I don't know. I found this very, very weird, and even weirder, the applaud that it gets from everyone in society. So are we living in a society of low expectation, in a culture of not even excuses, because this was not an excuse, in a culture of, I don't know, low expectations?
Well, I'm glad this is the only sports question I feel actually qualified to even venture into, Nikos. And I actually was kind of inspired by this gentleman's comments. I heard it more as this idea of thinking as a career as a long-range endeavor, that he is to be judged over a career, not one game in particular. And you mentioned Jordan. You know, I am a Chicagoan. It made me think of this ad from Jordan, this famous Nike ad. I don't know if we can hear it, but he talks about, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games, 26 times. I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot. I've missed, I've failed over and over again, and that is why I succeed. Even Jordan there admitting that failure is part of his long-range path to success. Do you think that's a good counter? Or
Yeah, but again, what then? Okay, if it's not a failure, then it's what? It's not a success. You're the first team in the regular season. Everyone expects you at least to move deep into the playoffs. So my question is, if it's not a failure, then it's what? So again, I think these days, this is like, if we don't name it, if we evade it, then it's not anymore a failure. It's either a failure or it's not. It's an objective situation. And I think, again, I love Giannis so much. I've missed so many hours of sleep to follow him. I've watched him play live. I adore him. This was a failure.
Well, and I guess if you also look at, I too was sort of inspired by the words that he spoke. That is more like a pep talk that Ted Lasso gives in the locker room, rather than something that you would come out and say in the news media, I think, because it does seem to skirt the issue of y'all lost. I mean, when you have an MMA fight, there's a clear winner, there's a clear loser, and you're not going to see the loser come out and say, I didn't really lose. I've taken more steps toward my next successful fight. I mean, losing is losing, and I get that. It sort of reminded me of, as both of you guys were talking, it sort of reminded me of the Elon Musk missile launch that failed. Technically, it did fail. However, I think the difference with that is that they expected it to fail. They had a goal in mind of what winning was, and winning wasn't that it was going to launch all the way up. There was they were expecting it to blow up. So, but that's different in this case. When you're in the NBA playoffs, and also go Warriors or Kings, but when you're in the NBA playoffs, you expect to win. Right. Every game that you play as a professional athlete, you go in with the expectation of winning. You should win. That is the goal. So Nikos, you kind of convinced me, but also I do like the words that he said. I do like the words that he said. What do you think, Amanda?
I'm a little bit more with Nikos on this one. It's so I've watched so many sports interviews, after the game, and they all sound exactly the same. It's more or less along these lines. You give 110%, you go out there, you try really hard, you do your best, and you hope you do your best. And this one's it's got a little bit more substance to it. I don't like that he assumes something on the part of the questioner, that the questioner is telling him he is a failure just by asking a question. So I don't think that's very cool. I think if someone has he's just asking a question, and that assumption.
I think he tried to personalize it like, hey, you cannot expect to get the promotion every year, so you cannot expect us to win the league every year. Yeah, okay, but did you expect to get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs? And I don't want to get technical, but it was a failure.
Yeah. I think what you would have liked him to say is that, yeah, that was totally a failure. But yet I love the failure, because it is we learn whatever he's going to say after that. We learn this about ourselves. We're even more excited for next season. I love failure because it's a step on the road to success. Like, if you would have said it in that way, I think you would have been good with it. And I think that is the good thing about what he said. Is that, yeah, all the things that you try and they don't work are steps on the road to success, and he's looking at it as a long game. I heard, so you talk about the SpaceX launch. Have you all seen that? The rocket blows up. The people they're cheering. Like, immediate emotional reaction is just, they're so excited by that thing blowing up. So I think
you know what? That's the new Jerry Springer. I think that's the new Jerry Springer is people reveling in the failure of giant men. No, these
are people at SpaceX. They're excited about it.
Oh, the SpaceX. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought you were talking about I thought you were talking about all the backlash that happened afterwards, where like Twitter was blowing up. Because they weren't cheering for him. They were laughing at his quote unquote failure.
Wes Stewart,
because his big rocket blew up. Whatever, Elon can take it.
Well, let's quickly just thank Wes Stewart for a very generous contribution, who says he loves the Thursday Collective. We love having him here. Shazbot, great to see you here, has a question. Why do some rich people play polo? How does that compare to mainstream sports? The only thing I never know about polo is that there's a little picture on it in some of my shirts from the early 1990s. What do you guys want to jump in on polo?
This is a deeply philosophical question. I think we should think very hard before we answer.
Rich people play polo because they can.
I don't know, because it looks like fun. Well, you get to ride a horse and with a mallet and like hit balls around. I have no idea.
First,
what
you
the
need to
rules
have
are
a horse. So already the bar is higher than. We need to get
Royals are the only ones I know who play polo.
Be able to
you get to wear those really. What about the costumes involved? I mean, really, what's not to like?
Really pretty, really cute, tight-fitting costumes.
I think I'm going to get into polo now. How do you fail at polo? That's a good question.
I remember in, you guys have seen Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts, when Richard Gere takes her to gets her all dressed up and takes her to the polo match, and they all have to, like, she wears this beautiful hat, and they all get to go and like put the divots back in the grass afterwards. I always thought I want that. That's a perfect first date to have.
Can I quickly tally back to Nikos's point, just kind of buttoning up this idea of failure? Let me throw this out. What if the idea is it's a failure, Nikos, if he didn't learn anything from it? If this whole exercise of the season getting to this first round of the playoffs, that they come back and don't have anything to have gained from it. Can you see a little bit further beyond just this one game or one season to say, if they learn something that they bring back? This is what I heard him saying, was that, it's realistic to think that every game you're going to win, but judge him over the course of a career, not every single individual game. Is that fair?
I will leave you with this as the opposite. So sorry, as an alternative. As an alternative, I would encourage people to go and read the book by Tim Grover, who was the personal coach of Michael Jordan. The first book, it's called Relentless. So, and see what was Jordan and Kobe's reaction to defeat. And the other alternative is go and put on YouTube, Kevin Garnett, I'm losing. There's an interview where someone is, Kevin Garnett was a great basketball player. He only won one title with the Celtics. And this was before that title, when he had a brilliant career, no title. And someone is asking me, why do you work so hard? And he struggles for a moment. And then he says, because I'm losing. And he bursts into tears. And it's one of the most powerful interviews I've ever seen. And he says, cut the interview. And he leaves in tears. So, and that because he knows he's losing, he's such a brilliant player and he hasn't won a ring. Of course, Giannis won the ring 2 years ago. He knows that he needs to, that's the truth. And I found this very, 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 very touching. So check out I'm Losing by Kevin Garnett. The video, you'll find it on YouTube. Okay, let's move because I don't want to monopolize with my topic.
Okay, well, I wanted to say one more thing because I was curious, Nikos. Do you think one of the things you don't like about it is that he's a bit cavalier about failure? Like it doesn't really matter, but it does matter. Is that the thing? One of the things that bothers you about it?
What bothers me is I'm sure Giannis inside, he doesn't believe that. So I'm mostly sad, not sad, but I'm mostly annoyed by the fact that he gets all this applause. Whereas he played injured. He played the whole season, the whole series with terrible pains, and he was brilliant. He was playing more than 40 minutes. He did a heroic effort. So someone who plays with such tenacity, I don't think he really believes that, yeah, it's not a failure. And I'm sure he's going to spend a lot of nights not sleeping well, replaying the games in his mind. So again, it's less about Giannis. It's more about the cultural, like it's all the Greek news and all over Facebook and Twitter, like, yeah, Giannis gave us a lesson about life. I don't find this a good life lesson, but hey, that's just me. Okay, who's next?
Amanda?
Next for what?
Oh, like who has I think there's another topic, the one about religion. Who brought young kids and religion? Who brought up that topic?
That was one that we were going to have as our headliner today, but then Jerry Springer died. So I think we'll save that for the next one. I can bring up a topic that I learned about last week, I think, and I'm still fuming about it today. Well, it's not just a California topic, it's a United States topic. So the federal government, and Jonathan, you probably know all about this, under the Biden administration, there is a new decree out, a new loan decree out from Fannie Mae and I think FHA, but the two big federal loan agencies in the United States, that is basically penalizing people with good credit. So the new rule is as of May 1st, 2023, if you buy a house in the United States. So I don't know what the UK equivalent is of a credit rating. But in the United States, we have credit ratings that, basically says I pay my debts back or I don't pay my debts back. And if you get above, anything above 680 is pretty good. Once you get up into the 800s, your money. Anything below 680 is, you've missed a few. And that means that your interest rates can go up. It's going to be more difficult to find a loan. There's more penalties associated with you not being a responsible person and paying all of your bills on time, right? So this new bill is as of May 1st, 2023 now is if I buy a home and let's say my credit rating is 750, I now am going to be penalized for having a good credit rating so that the people with the bad credit rating aren't penalized as much. So now I have to actually take care of the people that haven't been paying their bills on time. Now they get massive forgiveness. And the only way for them to be able to get massive forgiveness, and they're saying that this is in an effort to encourage minority and bad creditors to buy homes, which to me is like, why would you encourage that? If they can't pay their bills, they're going to default on their loan. But, whatever, that's just way too rational in this world. So now I'm going to get penalized. My mortgage is going to be at least $40 to $60 extra a month, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at it over time, over a 30-year mortgage, how much extra I'm going to have to pay as a result. What do you guys think is going to happen when this goes into effect, do you think that people like me with a great credit rating are going to be, yeah, let's keep my great credit rating?
This is the essence of the mixed economy. It's this ugly mixture of some capitalism, plenty of statism. We saw this play out in America, going on back now 15, 18 years ago. It was called the Community Reinvestment Act, the same type of government meddling in what should be a free market in terms of real estate and real estate finance. And, Jax, the upshot will be foreclosures. The upshot will be tremendous lack of capital to the whole industry writ large, and plenty of people ultimately losing homes they couldn't afford in the first place. And of course, capitalism will get the blame. When these people get thrown out of homes that they couldn't afford to buy, they're going to say the greedy capitalists, the greedy financiers. So at the heart of it, in my opinion, and I know the rest of the panelists want to weigh in as well, it's that nature, that mixed economy in which government is truly behind the scenes pulling the strings.
Yeah, I feel like this is like a page out of 20th Century Motor Factory.
I was about to say just this. So society has supposedly rejected the politics of Marxism, but they have kept the morality. And this is exactly the morality of Marxism. This is literally from each according to ability to each according to need. So Jax has a lot of ability in repaying. So she has to be effectively penalized for this, for those who have not. And everyone is going to say this is good. And I have one question, why? So I'm very curious to see what would people say. Why is this good? Why is it right? Forget the economic argument. The economic argument, of course, this means that this will create instability. Sooner or later, this will mean that this creates a moral hazard, to put it in like Hayek's terms. But for me, the main question is, why is this right? Why is this a good idea? And why is this fair for Jax? And I'm very curious. I know what the panel will say, but I'm very curious if the policymakers ever have spent 5 seconds to question if this is a good moral idea.
Because I think that they say it in the name of equity, not equality. They say it in the name of, we have too many people with that are minorities who have lower credit ratings that don't own homes they're renting, and we need to have an equitable mixture of poor, middle class, upper class who own homes. To what end? Nikos, I mean, that's the answer I think they would give you, but the answer I would or pose back to them, the question I would pose back to them is, why is that important? What does that teach anybody? Amanda, what do you think about that?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. It was like a politics or a thing. I don't know. I don't know that much about laws and that kind of thing. I mean, it sounds bad. And probably they would say something like, yeah, we should give the people a chance, an opportunity. They're people, they're good people. Maybe they're here through no fault of their own and, didn't have the same opportunities as you.
We all just sacrifice just a little bit. We all just sacrifice just a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone, the whole collective, if you will be much better off as a result.
But I would argue that like morality is the only thing that's driving that decision. Like it's not there. I mean, as you're gonna say, like, yeah, if they considered it for 5 minutes, but I'm sure that it's like that is the consideration. It's the right thing to do.
Oh yeah, that's the consideration. But I mean, if they've spent 5 minutes to question whether this is good or bad. Anyway, so always I try to keep the episodes below 30 minutes. Today we went 34.
Oh, this is a massive failure, Nikos.
It is. Yeah. It is.
What do you think about that?
I would like you to publicly admit that you failed,
failure?
Nikos.
No, because it's not a failure because we learned. Okay, so people, there's more today in ARC UK. So 10 p.m. UK time, live on Earth with Robert Nasir. And the title is Back in the Office, Japan Vacation Insights. So either Japan vacation is a thing like, I don't know, quiet quitting, or Robert has been to vacation in Japan, in which case he has experience to bring with him. Anyway, many thanks for being with us. Many thanks for watching. Many thanks for you who participated in the dialogue and who contributed. Many thanks to the co-hosts and to ARC UK for having us here. See
Oh,
you
wait,
also.
I have to read one thing from Equal to Reality, who's been a member for 12 months. More hour-long shows, please.
All right. Keep,
Okay, we'll
keep
keep
tuned
it
in. We've
we'll
got
keep it in
more
mind.
coming up just tonight, so keep it tuned right here.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Let's talk about
everyone.
polo next time. Bye-bye.
All
Bye,
the best.
everybody.